Ako lang yung babae na reporter at that time. No, ngayon ko UP ka. So,
Madalas bang pag-iyak mo noon?
he hostaged the whole hotel where we were. He was so mad, he was so enraged, and he said, hostage kayo.
But that was
Pangilan
your closest brush with death.
Marami na.
Marami.
Marami na. They were already praying for our souls and our obituaries were already being prepared.
Hello, Miss Jessica Soho. Welcome to PeopleAsia.
Hi, Alex. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you. Sa dinami-dami na interview ko sa buong buhay ko, ngayon lang yata ako kinakabahan.
Bakit naman?
The
We've met each other a long time ago.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
When the world was young.
Yeah, and things were so much simpler.
Yeah. How was your childhood like?
I remember being a very curious child. And my cousins said I was very competitive, but that part of me I only acknowledged only recently. I didn't know na competitive pala ako. I'd say I had a very textured childhood because on weekdays when I had to go to school in the Catholic private school,
This was in La Union, I
San
believe.
Fernando, La Union, now a city, but when I was a kid, well, urbanized na rin siya, but not as commercialized as today.
Yeah.
So, and then on weekends naman, we'd go to the barrio of my maternal grandma in Agoo, La Union, which was very rural at the
Yes.
time. My paternal lola in the town center of San Fernando, La Union, sold meat in the market. And then my maternal lola naman was a retired public school teacher trained by the Thomasites. And so, but she lived in a barrio and meron siyang mga farmers who tilled the land for her because my grandfather died early. My mom died when I was 8 of cancer. So I was thrust into the worlds of my lolas. I have a brother.
Younger
and
one.
then my dad remarried and 2 other siblings came after us. So yon. So I know these kinds of environment. So I'd say I'd had
Expose you.
maybe kaya magaling din akong makibagay sa mga tao. Magaling akong makipagkwentuhan or makichika.
You enjoyed your childhood.
I think so, except for the part when we lost my mom. That was tragic, 'di ba? Pero before that, I'd say I'd had a pretty normal
Normal life.
happy childhood naman. So, na-balance out siguro. And then, in school, I was a serious student, yes. But I was not that grade conscious. I was just, a regular student. Although, yeah, I like getting good grades and I know that to get good grades, you have to really
Yeah,
study hard.
yeah.
Oo. But bokeh ako sa math. I wanted to become a lawyer. So I was taking up political science in UP. There were 4 math subjects with political science.
come political
I don't know.
science?
Meron siyang math 11, math 14, may calculus, may, I don't know what the other math was. But 11 pa lang, algebra pa lang, nahirapan na ako. So sabi ko, hindi ako gagraduate dito. I'd better shift to another course. And then I checked the course outlines, and the first course I saw with only 1 math required subject was journalism. I mean, it could have been anthropology, it could have been sociology, baka yun din yung pinili ko, but 'di ba? Maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's destiny or chance
So
lang.
in a way, Jessica, you were an accidental journalism
Yeah, I am.
student.
I am. I tell
You didn't have any dreams of becoming a journalist. So
First of all, there were no journalists in the family. And then,
the idea was so remote.
yeah, wala. Even when I was already taking up journalism, my goal really was to finish an undergrad course and take up law. But in UP Masscom, meron kasi kaming, you take up Journ 104 and then the person with the highest grade becomes the editor-in-chief. Tinig naman, they picked me. I don't know, hindi ko na maalala kung paano ako naging editor-in-chief ng Tinig. And then, I was contributing some articles to the Collegian. Pero mga 2, 3 articles lang. And then, Louis Beltran was my professor. This was the 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know how he got hold of articles from the New York Times or the Washington Post, and he'd clip some of those articles na nabasa niya, and then
Made you
he'd
read them.
Xerox them and give us copies. Doon pa lang ako na-inspire. And then later on, he was saying, I have a friend in GMA. His name is Tony Seva. And he is saying they need Journ graduates. At the time, there were 3 newspapers. I remember Daily Express, Bulletin, and Journal. And they were all in the
Journal.
port area.
Yes.
Sabi ko, ang layo. Parang ayoko yata nung nagko-commute to the port area every day. So sabi ko, baka mag-apply na lang ako ng GMA. At least,
This is back in the day, kids, nung wala pang internet at modem. We had to go to the newsroom to file our stories,
yes, you
right?
had to go home to the newsroom. Hindi yung...
At doon kasi sigaw-sigawan ng editor mo. Pagpangit ang kopya mo.
Yeah, and then yung pupunitin yung articles mo.
From across the...
Yeah. And I was so
editorial
used to Quezon City lang, UP, Quezon City, dorm,
So GMA
boarding
was so
house.
convenient.
Yeah. So I said, dito na lang kaya ako mag-apply. And I was ready to take on any job. I mean, they could have made me the production assistant, and I won't mind. In fact, the first few days that I was reporting for work here, ako taga-sagot ng telepono, taga-sagot ng radyo. Someone needed coffee, then I'd have to make coffee for them. And even when I was already working, you know how fluid things are in the TV newsroom, di ba? Minsan absent yung makeup artist. I do the makeup of even Mike Enriquez at the time. And then I remember doing the makeup of Orbos also. Kasi si
Okay.
Orbos, naging host yan ng isa sa mga public affairs shows eh.
Secretary Orbos.
Yes, tapos ayaw niya palang pinapagalaw yung buhok niya. So gusto niya lang makeup. So I can do all of these
So
things.
from the get-go, you had a steep learning curve to,
Kasi I
overcome.
took up journalism.
Oo.
Even the writing is different.
Okay.
Kasi in broadcast, active voices lahat yung verbs mo. It cannot be passive. Like I remember that because I was writing about the LRT, which was on its inaugural run then, as in may plastic pa yung mga, mga upuan niya. I wrote my first lines in the passive voice. So the editor at the time, the newscast was still in English, and he said, hindi pwede yung passive voice, kailangan active. So instead of the railings were being cleaned, workers were cleaning the railings, mga ganon.
And your life depended on your cameraman, I suppose?
Yes, you had to. The first lesson was how to get along with your cameraman. Cameraman ko was medyo old, mature, macho. Siyempre, iba yung world noon eh. Ako lang yung babae na reporter at the time. So, puro sila mga macho and mga ganyan, mga brusko. But he was nice and he taught me a lot of lessons. And then the assistant cameraman naman, bata na medyo tuso na luko-luko. So, pambungad sa akin ng cameraman ko, ngayon kung UP ka. I didn't take those remarks as insults. I had to learn. Tama naman na bagito ako, kailangan matutunan ko. And these were skills that came in handy later on in life. Sabi niya, matuto kang magbuhat ng, kasi ang dami naming gamit eh. Magbuhat ka ng bag, aralin mo gumamit ng tripod, ng ilaw, and yung mikropono, alam mo dapat, kasi mahirap isaksak eh, the old cameras, di ba? May, channel 1, channel 2, may mga ganyan. So dapat alam mo kung saan mo isasaksak. And yung lights namin noon, they didn't have stands. You had to hold them, mainit sa kamay. So
Madalas bang pag-iyak mo noon, Jessica?
Hindi naman. I think I'm tough. Umiyak din ako minsan, pinunit ni Mr. Sebag. He was the editor then. Yung script ko, Baptism of Fire, di ba? These are the old newsrooms na talagang pa. Ngayon, you can't do that anymore. Times have changed, but I wouldn't have traded those experiences kasi they came with skills that I learned and, those were useful.
So in a nutshell, what made you stay? Because you were trained as a journalist for print. You were a writer.
It didn't feel like work. Meron palang ganitong kasayang trabaho. I mean, get to meet a lot of people, talk to a lot of them, go places. Ang dami kong, medyo may pagkabulak-bulak ko eh. So, and even now, I take long road trips. So, nag-enjoy ako sa kanya immensely. One thing just happened after the other. Kasi this was the 80s. Nag-EDSA Revolution. Lalo na na-assign ako sa pinakamagulong beat at the time, which was the defense and the military beat, because the guy who was assigned to that beat died of cancer. And then because I was the newest reporter, ako lang siguro yung nauuto, sabi nga, diyan ka na kasi walang reporter dyan. Eh doon naman na taon naman yung time na ang gulo-gulo ng Pilipinas. And then the stories were coming from the defense and the military establishments because of the series of coup attempts. Yeah.
And this was the time when you were part of the news as part of the Cagayan hostage crisis.
Yes,
Would you like to
yes.
tell us about that?
Colonel Aguinaldo, who was elected governor, Rodolfo Aguinaldo. Ram yun dati, mga barkada ni na gringo, di ba? And then he ran for governor and he won. Now, during one of those coup attempts against President Cory Aquino, he participated allegedly. So, when the coup attempt was over, the government was going to run after him. So, he went to the mountains and hid. Kami naman, I went to Cagayan and had a clandestine interview with him at the foot of one mountain. The following day, he hostaged the whole hotel where we were billeted, pati yung mga generals who were going to issue the warrant of arrest, and went down to the lobby to find the lobby deserted. Kami na lang pala yung nandun. Because all of the generals were all holed up in the upper floors, in their rooms. Nakikita ko si Aguinaldo sa labas. And then nung nakita niya ako, he was ordering me to open the door. Sabi ko, tas sabi ng cameraman ko, no, you can't do that. That's aiding the enemy. So hindi ko mabuksan. So what he did next was to crash the door. Nabasag yung door. Eh, ako yung una-unang nakita niya. So pinagduduro niya ako, ikaw, di ba sinabi ko sa'yo, buksan mo yung pintuan. And his finger was ganyan, ka-close. And then he was so mad, he was so enraged, and he said, hostage kayo. So hostage kami ng mga cameraman ko. But before that, there was this scary moment when some of the generals came down bago pa pumasok si Aguinaldo, and they wanted to engage with him with their guns. Sabi ko, papahamak niyo po kami. Sabi ko, dapat huwag kayong bumaba dito sa lobby. You just stay in your rooms. I mean, it's so absurd now that there was this 20-year-old me ordering the generals into their rooms and not to engage Aguinaldo. Otherwise, confrontation.
Yeah, crossfire.
Yeah, and they would probably be caught in the crossfire, which was what happened to Colonel Florendo then, yung spokesman ng military. He was hostaged also by Aguinaldo kasi na on the road, nasalubong niya yung mga tropa ni Aguinaldo. So he was hostage. He was brought to the hotel lobby. And then at some point, nung nagkaroon ng confrontation, ng encounter.
He was caught in the middle of it.
Yeah. He was
died.
caught and he died. And the theory was he was felled by friendly fire. Yung trajectory was coming from upstairs. So I mean,
But that was your closest brush with death.
Marami na.
Marami.
Marami na. We also tried going to the Spratlys when,
Yeah.
not a lot of people knew about it yet.
This was after
I don't, baka parang almost at the same
This
time.
was
I'll
the
have to
time when
check
you got lost, and then
Yes, yes.
your colleagues thought that you were, gone.
Yeah.
You're clean.
And the headlines of the Inquirer was Jessica back from the dead.
But
When
they,
we were found,
yeah, but they did offer a requiem mass. Totoo yun.
they were praying for our
Okay.
souls because there was this length of time from the time we were reported lost and we were in an island with no communication. So it took some time before some of us could go to the nearest island with some communications
To
to
radio for
Manila,
help.
to tell Manila na we're okay. we just ran out of fuel.
How long were you lost to the world?
Almost a day because nakuha na nila yung message sa Manila the following day that you were alive pala. In the meantime, pinagdasal na nila kami dito. They were already praying for our souls and our obituaries were already being prepared.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was that bad. And then they had to call my dad from the province to come to the newsroom so they could inform him about what happened, etc. Ang regret ko is, how could I have put the lives of my cameramen in danger? Kasi ako, okay naman ako. But, all the anguish of the
And
family
their
of my
family
cameramen, and their family men. And sabi ko, how could I have been so reckless? Laging may ganyan akong regret sa sarili ko.
So you end up blaming yourself pa.
Oh, baka nga part of the PTSD that we didn't even know about because there wasn't even a word to go with it.
So you're the brainchild of some of the most iconic TV programs in GMA, Emergency, Eyewitness, Jessica Soho Reports, and now I-KMJS or Kapuso
Also,
mo.
24 oras.
24 oras.
Yeah. Well, 24 oras is the concept of Sheila Paras. But then she left and I had to be the one to launch it. So, yun.
What was your thought process in each of these shows?
What happened was, from being a news reporter, I wanted to do more long form. And then I liked it so much, I started, entertaining the thought of pitching for a long-form documentary type of program. So that was how Eyewitness was born. So I was conceptualizing programs for several talents.
Yes.
Like Emergency was Edu Manzano, and then it became Arnold Clavio. There was Brigada Siete. So I was a producer. Then na-realize ko, teka, I was giving shows and breaks to some people. Hindi ko naisip yung sarili ko. Kasi pag producer ka, ganun ka. You stay behind the cameras. You're just thinking of, managing people and, conceptualizing programs. So sabi ko, pitch ko rin kaya na magkaroon ako ng solo program ko.
So you thought about it?
So then I thought about pitching JSR, Jessica Soho Reports, which eventually became KMJS.
How did you differentiate your own show from the previous shows that you did for other people?
News magazine siya. I knew I liked that format. I like doing news magazine because it's a whole range of stories that you can come up with. Like you can do investigative, you can do breaking news, you can do features, you can do lifestyle, you can do profiles, you can do food stories and travel stories. Mas fun siya gawin and mas flexible. So I like doing that kind of a program, which is what KMJS now is.
What is your consideration in featuring? So there are so many subjects, so many people to feature. How do you choose?
You always need to balance. Even the newscasts would have that, balancing act between need to know versus want to know. So it's both. Pero at the same time, pag may breaking, if there's big news that we have to do, then we do the Kurakot series. I mean, kung kailangan naming mag-investigative, then we have to do that. It's always a balancing act. You like to do stories na eme-eme, sabi ng mga bata ngayon.
Paminsan-minsan.
Paminsan-minsan. They like to do the kilig stories. And then I would...
Pang-balanse.
Yeah, and I would caution them, pinapakilig natin yung mga bata, ang daming teenage pregnancies. So ako lagi yung kontrabida. So, and then...
Where do you draw the line, Jessica? When
mga ganon. It's responsibility, more of responsibility. Like I'm telling you a concrete example.
Yeah.
They like to do love stories, ganyan, and then, kasi merong gwapo sa ganyan, and then ganyan-ganyan, pinapakilig niya yung sige, sabi ko, kasi cute naman, and then viral daw siya, so gagawin naman namin, and then I'd say, let's not encourage the young kids too much, kasi then you look at the data or the stats and it says ang daming teenage pregnancies, etc.
Yeah.
So then pero I like to do the serious stuff. I pushed for the
like the
Kurakot
flood control,
series, the flood control. Parang
and it was timely.
Kasi 'di ba sunod-sunod yung mga floods and calamities, and the flood control projects were crumbling. So we just took the cue from God, I think. Wala na tayong leader na talagang masasabi mo who feels for our countrymen. Naiyak ako doon. Ang sama nila. I mean, how could they have stolen so much? You go out into the streets and you see more people struggling. Infrastructure is so bad. So, hindi ko maintindihan. Hindi ba 'to nakikita ng mga nagnanakaw sa gobyerno?